We're connecting. Connecting. More internet. Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah, that's...
Looks like the internet is working. I think. Ah, yes. Cool. We are live. All right. So, hello, camera. Appears you moved a little bit. See if we can keep you in the same place for a while. We'll be tearing down this desktop. Just going to mess around a little bit, see what's inside of it. This is a Dell Inspiron 5680. So, come here, camera. Let's take a little tour here. You know, up close. You can see here. I'm gonna make this other window larger for you, folks. There we go. I want to just take a quick look at the exterior here. Got a nice Dell logo here. Some nice blue accents here. You know, this is a gaming desktop, but they're kind of trying to make it like, you know, so like it's a gaming desktop, but it's not like, hey everybody, look at me, I'm a gamer. So they're a little more subtle with this one. It's kind of harder to see the blue LEDs here on camera, which is understandable. You know, if I tilt it up a little bit, you can see it better there. But I think it's a really nice touch. Turn all the way around here. Hopefully without tipping it over. Oh yeah, it's all plugged in and stuff here, so disconnect all that, of course. Pretty typical port panel back here. Got your discrete graphics card down there. Nothing too crazy. So let me put you back here. Tripod. So we can actually start taking a closer look at this here. Now, like I said, this is a Dell Inspiron gaming desktop. Oh, there's Hanif in the background there. Say hi, Hanif. And you might be wondering, you know, Dell Inspiron gaming desktop, you know, maybe, you know, that's not the first thing you think of when you think of gaming, but maybe it is, I don't know. These things are getting more popular, but if you're not really familiar with it, you might be surprised to hear that Dell actually has some really, a really big line of gaming desktops that are the Inspiron gaming desktops. So they're really meant to be more affordable. They're meant to be for pretty much everyone. This one's like starts at, let's look at their website here real quick. I'm pretty sure this configuration is $800. Looks like it starts a little cheaper right now. If you go to do a little shopping around, you can probably get it as low as $600. The one we got here, GTX 1060, which is a higher end configuration. You can't get anything faster than that. Yeah, you start at $600, all right? $600 gets you Core i3, 8100, all right? And you're going to go up from there to Core i7, 8700, which I believe is what you have in this configuration right here, the one we reviewed. This also has the GTX 1060, like I said, 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gigabyte solid state drive, 1 terabyte SATA drive to back that up. Something to note, the base models only have mechanical hard drives. And that's probably not really, I wouldn't recommend that personally. I kind of recommend like get a solid state drive, okay? You really want to get that on any of your systems right now, even if it's a cheap one. It's really going to improve your overall day-to-day use. So let's see here. Let's get into this sucker. Get it lined up here with the camera a little better. There we go. So now something to note is I haven't like looked into how to get into this thing or anything at all. Like this is going to be, we reviewed this, and someone here at Digital Trends, Luke Larson, our associate editor of computing, did review it. All right, and he went through all of it. But I personally, I have not looked at it on the inside. So we're going to take a look at the journey here and see what's going on. See how easy it is to take apart. Right back here, I'm seeing there's one screw back here, okay? So one screw, so I'm thinking, you know, probably I take that out, and this side panel should be pretty easy to take off, but maybe not. Maybe there's something else going in here. There's like a little tab back here with a pull handle. All right, I'm gonna pull on this pull handle. We'll see how that goes. Nope, nothing. So, oh, no, those screws. Oh, here's another screw here. This one's a little screw hiding out back here. You can immediately see it. They're pretty recessed into the back of the chassis. There we go. All right, so get that side panel off. So here, this is just a pretty basic, like, you know, side panel you would see on a less expensive rig. Plastic outside, okay. Lots of ventilation here. Metal on the interior, but nothing, you know, that's fancy or lavishly finished. A few sharp edges here. So, you know, PC builders know, like a lot of the less expensive cases, you know, you're gonna run into some sharp edges. You might cut yourself if you're not careful, draw a little blood. You know, it's just comes with the territory. But I mean, it is a fairly robust feeling case side. So again, you got to think this is system starting around $600. You know, it's actually pretty robust. Now, we got the internals here. All right, so let's see what we're looking at. Motherboard here is obviously not like an Asus motherboard or anything like that. You know, this is a Dell system that's affordable, so it looks like they've used one of their sort of OEM designs with this, or it could be from another company and just, you know, left the badging off of it. Pretty basic though. You see you've got 4 DIMM slots here for RAM. I think it's pretty much the minimum you would expect with any motherboard these days, except for maybe like I don't know, a mini ITX or something. We've got the one PCI slot here, the PCI 16 slot for the video card. So that's going to be right here. And then below that, it's going to be smaller. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see it very easily on the screen, but there's I believe there's an X4 slot down there. You should be able to see that. Not too much problem. So you could have an expansion card in there. You know, add a few ports. Maybe like add some Thunderbolt 3 ports. So there's none of those on this system. Might be an option. Now, the hard drive, you've got a M.2 slot here. That's pretty common these days for a gaming desktop. So that slot's going to let you put in your M.2 hard drives and get some nice upgrades that way. Solid state drives, which comes equipped standard in the system. I imagine that if you don't get the solid state drive standard, it's probably still there on the motherboard. So, you know, if you got that entry level version, you might, you know, be able to upgrade it yourself at a relatively affordable price. You know, solid state drives aren't that expensive. If you're talking about 128 gigabytes, maybe 256 gigabytes, you can get that for, you know, less than $100 in some cases. So, you know, it could be a way to save money there if you're looking to really get it in under a tight budget. Now, the processor, of course, right here. Nothing really fancy about this processor cooling system. In fact, I mean, like this, you know, I haven't seen the stock fan on the 8th gen desktop by itself that I recall, but it probably looks almost exactly like this. This is a pretty standard Intel processor cooler. And what that's going to mean for you is that, well, you know, if you are interested in cooling the system, do the overclocking, it's not really going to be possible. Now, also, the chip on here is not overclockable. I don't believe that any of the chips that are sold with this come unlocked. So overclocking is probably not going to be a concern anyway. It's going to be a perfectly adequate cooler. Like, don't worry about the heat. Like, look how big this system is, okay? There's a lot of room here. Don't worry about the heat buildup or having that, like, slow you down or be a longevity issue. But you should be aware that, you know, if you are thinking of, like, a chassis for, like, serious upgrades in the future, this is a budget system. It's not going to get you that. Now, nice thing to see here is that we do have one RAM slot. Now, it does mean you're not running dual channel RAM, which can have some performance implications. It's some situations, but you have 3 slots that are open, so this motherboard supports up to 32 gigabytes of RAM. So if you wanted to, you could throw in 3 more 8 gigabyte RAM DIMMs in here, and you don't have to remove anything, and you can really upgrade your performance that way. So that's pretty nice to see. We also have, talking about hard drives again, have a lot of, well, I don't know if I want to say a lot, but you have like 3 open SATA slots here, okay? And so you get the one here that's being used by the actual 1 terabyte hard drive, and then you've also got 3 SATA slots that are open, so you could put in more hard drives there. Now, you'll note that right here we have a second hard drive slot that's open, right? So you can put a hard drive in there, but let's take a closer look at this here actually, since we're going to be tearing this down. It looks like you're not going to be able to get more than 1 hard drive in here, 1 additional hard drive. So this comes with 1 terabyte of hard drive space stock. So that's a good amount of space. Like, I don't feel like you could be too unhappy with that. But if you wanted to upgrade, it might be more of an issue. So we're going to take this apart a bit here and see what we're looking at for actual upgrades to the hard drive. All right. So looks like we've got a pretty simple hard drive. I don't know what's the word for it. Sled, I guess. Bay. It slides right out. It's not toolless. It's not a toolless design. All those cases like say, oh, we got toolless design. You won't have to use a screwdriver, which oftentimes isn't exactly true, by the way. But this one, I had to remove 2 screws. You can see here, if you wanted to put in another hard drive, you would simply have to screw it in to the sides here. And I mean, that would be pretty easy. That's a pretty easy upgrade. I don't think that, you could screw that in and then you just, put it back in there, put the screws back into it, and you're good to go. So not really any complaints there. I'm going to take apart the one that does have a hard drive already in it. What's going on here? Oh, come on. A little bit of a tight fit there, but this screwdriver is pretty beefy and didn't really have an issue. So, all right, and what do we got here? Okay, so Western Digital, 1 terabyte, Western Digital Blue. These are really good drives. High quality drive, not too expensive. Can be expected to be pretty reliable. So don't have any complaints about the hard drive. That Dell has put in this at all. And you can also see how easily that came out, right? And again, as far as your construction of putting it in here, you've got the 4 screws, put it right in here, and it looks like that connects without any problem at all. Now, I'm looking here, and I'm thinking, one thing to note is that there's not a lot of noise isolation here. There's no rubber around this bay, and this here, it's just metal on metal, okay? So you might expect to hear some hard drive noise. That didn't come up in our review, really. We didn't really notice it. I think that the mitigating factor for that is that this is a big system. So, and it also does have the solid state drive for your primary hard drive. So you're only going to be hitting this hard drive specifically when you're loading things in games. So it's just less opportunity overall to notice it. And if you were really sensitive to that kind of stuff, you want a really quiet system, that might be something that you would care about. But overall, like it is a very easy system to take apart in terms of getting those hard drives out. Now, here, you have your hard drive bay. Here, you have your SATA ports, all right? So, not a very long distance. It's basically the width of my hand, right there. And that means pretty much any SATA cord's going to span that. You're not going to have to worry about whether or not you've got a long enough SATA cord to connect your new hard drive, really. Also, let's see, these are the SATA power connectors that I disconnected one of them to take out the drive. And that is going to mean that you have the extra connector here. You actually have 2 extra connectors. And yeah, so you don't have 2 hard drive bays, extra hard drive bays. So I guess one of those are going into this, so it would be hanging out there, but it is an option. Speaking of bays, so what do we think about this lack of an optical drive? Well, look, there's not one there. It does look like the case has the room, right, for an optical drive bay. Like, let's see here. Yeah, so you got a screw here, and this looks like about the right size for a 3.25 inch, or not 3.25 inch, 5.25 inch drive. But I think you could probably squeeze one in there, but there is a metal component here. There's nothing on the front of the case to allow you to actually get that drive in there. So in any case, you're really going to be out of luck on the optical drive. I don't think there's any way you can make that work easily. I mean, you'd have to, take a saw to the thing and cut a hole in the front of the case. And I actually wouldn't mind seeing the option for an optical drive. I mean, the bay is here, so it's really a matter of putting that on the front of the case. But on the other hand, I think, particularly with gamers, it's like, who cares? Like, I can't remember the last time I installed a game on a CD. I think most gamers are in that situation. So, you're downloading things on Steam, you're downloading things for good old games, whatever. You're not really going to need the optical drive. So, let's talk about the video card. The video card here, and again, this is a Dell Inspiron 5680 system we're looking at here. The video card is in like kind of a bracket here, you can see. And if you haven't taken a look into a OEM built system lately, you might be a little unfamiliar with this. You might think it's kind of weird. Because certainly when you're building a system at home, you're not going to have like this metal bracket that is around your video card. So what's the deal with that? Well, the main deal with that is that it's for protecting the actual video card in the PCI slot in the motherboard. Because you have this thing here that's going to prevent that card from moving much at all. You have to remember, like, a video card like this, once it's installed, is basically being supported by the PCI bracket and the screw that's connecting it to the case here at the rear. Well, 2 screws here, and that's it. That's all. So back here, there's a lot more room for a lot more wiggle room. And that's not good, because it means that if the case is jolted too harshly, you can actually damage that PCI slot. I've seen that happen. We've received systems that had a damaged PCI slot out of the box because someone dropped it in shipping, and that card, the weight of that card going against the motherboard, the PCI slot, broke it, and everything looked fine, but it wouldn't work. After that, there's really no going back. Now we've got. This is GTX 1060 again, by the way, 3 GB. No overclocking here, folks. No like fancy stuff. This is a general NVIDIA GTX 1060. And so you've got your 6-pin. There is actually, as you can see here, kind of interesting. You've got 8-pin. You've got your 6-pin. You got your 8-pin. All right. So that means you could install potentially a more power-hungry graphics card if you wanted. Potentially. It is a question of whether the power supply supports that. We'll talk about it in a moment. We'll talk about the video card for now. So, let's get this out of here. And again, like, I haven't looked at the system beforehand. Luke Larson did our review of this system, so he took a look at it, but I am tearing it down myself for the first time. I'm looking through it for the first time, so there's definitely a question here of how easy is this system to take apart and to work on. And so far it seems pretty simple. There's a lot of room here. This bracket is this right here is a little bit of an annoying part because this screw here is really far down here. So it's kind of hard to see, kind of hard to work with, but it's not a big deal. So take that out and there's your bracket. Really not a lot to it. It's just the metal bracket to make sure that card doesn't move too much and damage the motherboard in shipping. So get that out of the way. You'll know that once you do have that out of the way, you've got even better access to all your wires back here. It looks like, let's see here. We've got all the power cords back here, and very good access to those, to the SATA cord here. They are tied down a little bit with, what is this? This is like a rigid bracket here. Looks like, yeah, it's interesting. Let's take a closer look at this and see how exactly this works. It's nice, it's always nice to see some level of cable management in a budget system. I think this is the question is how to, there we go. Okay. So, that's actually pretty cool. Let's see if I can take you for a bit of a journey here. Get you a little closer. All right. So, what we have here is a plastic bracket that's got it's holding down the cords, right? And that is actually keeping your cable management under control, and you can just clip it in there, right? Take it out, clip it in. Want to take out the cables? Cool. Take it out. When you're done, clip it back in. And that, I do believe, is a pretty cool feature, actually, because what that means is that you can do cable management on this without a whole lot of trouble. So a lot of high-end rigs, you'll also get tons of cable ties and really good cable management, but a lot of times those are designed in a way where they're really meant to be messed with once, and then after that, if you want to change those cables, you might have to actually clip apart those cable ties sometimes, and then your cable management is screwed because you're not a professional PC builder, and they go splaying out everywhere, and you're gonna have a really hard time getting things back where they're meant to be. This looks like a pretty good solution to it. I like that. So anyway, got sidetracked there. Going back to the video card. What is that? Yeah, people in the office here are they're going nuts, just throwing things everywhere. It's a disaster. Oh yeah, so we got unscrew one here. And this is a weird bracket, I gotta say. Not quite sure. Usually they work by you press down on them, and then they come out. This one's kind of you press up. That's strange. I haven't seen a motherboard that works like that, but there you go. GTX 1060 stock configuration, 3 gigabytes. Oh look, it even says it in very generic font. GTX 1060. Okay, so. I mean, the card really wasn't difficult to get out there. Actually, I mean, once I figured out that I had to go press up on that tab and set it down, pretty easy to do. And once you get that out of the way, you've got your bracket out of the way. Now you've got really good access to everything. I think you need to take the video card out to really remove that hard drive. Not strictly necessary, because you put this back. Wow, it's the wrong way. You put this back in here. Okay. I mean. I should have tried it, but I think you could, unscrew that and get that drive out of there without moving the video card.
But you're probably really going to want to do that. You're probably really going to want to move the video card first. Now, let's get into your M.2 solid state drive. Now, if you get rid of that, you just take apart this one screw. Spring loaded, usually spring loaded on any motherboard, which is fun. Don't know why that's part of the standard apparently, but there you have it. And yeah, lots of drive. Looks like this one is SK Hynix. So, you know, for most people that's not really a brand name, but they are actually decent drives, fairly reliable drives, not necessarily the highest performing drives. Something we knocked the system on a little bit in the review was the performance of the hard drive, because it's an M.2 and you might expect that to be really, really quick, but in fact it really performed not that great, especially in the write speeds. Now, it still performed really well. Like, you're not going to see any problems when you're loading a video game or your web browser or anything like that. But if you were like transferring a lot of really large files, decided to edit like a big video file or something, you might notice it then. So this is something to be aware of. What else do we have here? You know, like we've got pretty far down. We've got the SATA here for the hard drive we took out. Now these cables here are for the front USB and for the front lighting. Get rid of the SATA cable. And out hopefully. These ones don't seem like they want to come out, which is interesting. Yeah, these are USBs, but they are not wanting to cooperate here. Come on, almost got it there, I think. Well, I don't want to break anything, so I think I'll leave them be. That's something to note then. You know, you got these front USB cables, and if you want to potentially move those, you know, that might be something where if you own the system, you would maybe be a little uncomfortable with trying to take those out and trying to work around those. Thankfully, I guess the good news is I don't think you'd have a lot of need to do that because, you know, you've got the SATAs right here, so really you can just loop your cord around those USB connections, and you know, you're not going to have any real problems there. Other things to note. Well, this is your motherboard connection here. For some reason, there's another one on this power supply. Someone in chat knows like what the deal is with this back here. You might not be able to see it very well, but there's like an entirely another like 20-pin power supply connection. That seems a little unusual. I haven't really seen that before. Right here at the front, we've got a 4-pin connection, which is going to the processor. Something to note is there's an extension cord here because it looks like the cable for on the power supply isn't long enough. It doesn't route all the way up here, right? Because you got the power supply starting here, and you've really got two options. You can either go behind the motherboard and connect that way, or I guess, yeah, you pretty much have to go behind the motherboard, connect that way, or you got to go around. Now, a lot of high-end systems are going to go behind the motherboard because they're going to have a cable management portion of the panel that's behind the motherboard, like in even this metal board, but behind the motherboard, to which the motherboard is mounted, there actually will be a lot of room back there for cables. A budget system like this, you're not going to see that. So they've gone around, they use an extension cord, which is definitely messier in terms of the visuals, but I mean, for a practical effect, it doesn't have any like downside. It's not going to be a performance issue or anything like that, or even a reliability issue. We have some more of these plastic clips built in the case from cable management, which again, is a really nice feature actually, because you can take those apart, unclip them, and then put them back without having to like permanently disconnect any sort of cable management feature. That's nice for upgradability. Like if you're working on this and trying to put your system together in the future with an upgrade, that's something you would appreciate having, because it would make it easier for you to
not have your system devolve into a rat's nest of cables.
Let's see. There's a Wi-Fi card here, I believe. And this, yeah, it's definitely a Wi-Fi card. And that connects to some antennas that are on the top of the case. This is a funny little thing that's interesting to note with OEM systems. It actually can be sometimes a benefit, I think. Like personally, that's been my experience, because when you're trying to upgrade to Wi-Fi by yourself on a system, it can be a little troublesome. You have, the option to do USB on the front or doing an add-in card, but then you have to figure out how you're going to route that to an antenna yourself, and that's not, always easy to do. So right here, you get that taken care of, and looks like otherwise there's not really much to note. That's pretty much it. It's a very simple system. There's no water cooling here, no strain, even a exotic like air cooling setup or anything like that. And the downside of that is this is not a high performance system. It's not going to do anything crazy. But the upside of that is it's pretty simple. It's easy to work with. I took this apart, started taking things out immediately, like easy. Everything's exactly where you want it to be. Last thing that I think we should talk about is the power supply. All right, so the power supply. This is important. Power supply, is a pinch point for future upgrades, right? Because if the power supply is not good enough for whatever you want to upgrade to in the future, then you're gonna have to give up on that upgrade, or you're going to have to upgrade the power supply, and that's a mess most people don't want to deal with. If you were cool with upgrading power supplies, you probably would have built the system yourself. So we have a Dell switching power supply output. I'm gonna have to turn this so I'm not looking at it sideways. Got some video cards in the way. Sorry, video cards. 460 watts. All right, 460 watt max on this power supply in this Dell. So that's adequate. It's adequate, we've got three 12 volt rails, okay, on this power supply, and one's 18 amps, one's 16 amps, one's 8 amps. That's not bad, actually. I mean, that's okay. That's decent for a power supply that's in, an OEM system like this. But with a 460 watt power supply, it's totally fine for a 1060. Totally fine for a 1060, and it's probably totally fine for even, with this system, I imagine you could swing, you could probably swing a 1070 Ti in here without any problems. Although, I think that the 460 watts is technically below the minimum, recommendation by NVIDIA. Those cards don't actually require that much power. So, sometimes you can get away, sort of go by the skin of your teeth and manage it. And you do have, the PCI 6-pin and 8-pin that you need to make an upgrade to another card. Who knows? Maybe the next version of the 1060, the 1160, or 2060, whatever they're going to call it, maybe that's going to have an 8-pin. I doubt it, but maybe it would. And in that case, you are future proofed. And generally, I would personally love to see a 600 watt power supply in this, because that would mean you really would be able to put in an upgrade that's pretty substantial without worrying about what's going to be happening down the road, whether or not you can power that. But again, with an OEM system like a Dell, where it's built to a very specific budget, it's probably not really realistic to expect that. They have to put in, what is adequate for the system. Otherwise, you'd be paying more for it, and you probably don't want to. Now, aside from the wattage, though, there's a good amount of SATA connectors here, as I already noted. Plenty for all the hard drive space that you have in here. And there's really not anything else you'd want to plug into this power supply in this kind of system. you have an add-in card maybe. And oh, like when I took the video card out, by the way, we have 2 PCI Express additional slots there, but you're not going to be able to really access those very easily if you have the video card in, which you probably are. So not really very useful, but they are there. So I think the power supply is adequate, but let's take this thing out actually and take a little bit of a closer look at it. The power supply is just in here with your usual 4-screw connection. Nothing unusual about that. And once you get the screws out, it should slide out fairly easily. There is a little bit of an annoying issue here because the screws are kind of like into the case, into the chassis, right? So when they're all the way out, it's actually really hard to get a hold of them and actually get them out of there. But not really a big deal. Got all the screws out there. And so it should be pretty free. Oh, look. Okay, so this case has a little added feature. There's a clip down there to keep the power supply in place, even if you unscrew it, which it's probably a fine thing to do. There you go. Really not much to say about the power supply otherwise now that I got it out. I mean, it's pretty much a generic power supply, and there's not any unusual markings on it. It'll do the job just fine. Not any more than that. So, I think that is about all we're going to get to on today's stream. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it told you a little bit more about Inspiron 5680. Go to digitaltrends.com. That's where our review is. And if you have any questions, you can go to digitaltrends.com, check them out, see what we have to say about the Dell Inspiron 5680. Thanks for joining us.